Good afternoon. Welcome back. Hope you all got some lunch. You're ready to listen to more companies this afternoon. So my name is Oskar Wikström. I work as an analyst at ABG, where I follow Alcadon. And today we have Sonny Meeborn with us, who's going to present the company. And I just leave it to you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Welcome. I've been with the company now for a few months. I hope after this presentation that you get a clear view on who we are and what we do. In general, we are a supplier of systems and products for network infrastructure solutions or data communication solutions. We've been around since 1988. Since that time, we have been present in all major technological transitions in our industry. We were there during the fiber rollout of the 90s. We were there during the rollout of 3G, 4G, and now the broadband market, or FTTH, fiber to the home. We have also been active in the data center market the last few years, and now we look forward to rolling out 5G in Sweden and Norway. I think looking at our history, it's primarily the last 3 years who shaped us into what we are today. We made a few acquisitions. In 2017, we acquired Data Connect and Svagströms Material in Sweden. Last year, we acquired Cablecom in Norway. And looking at what these acquisitions made to us, you can say that they added related business areas. We got cross-selling opportunities and, of course, cost synergies as well. But I think it's most important about our acquisitions is that we strengthened our position towards our existing customer segments. This year has been an eventful one. Myself and our CFO, sitting right there, assumed office. We experienced a downturn in the broadband market. We implemented a few efficiency increasing measures. And today we have I would say, an updated management team. And this new management team consists of individuals from both our geographical markets, individuals with a long history within Alcadon, a long history within our industry. But we also have representatives from our most recent acquisitions as well. So I think it's a good mix of people in our new management team, definitely. Today we have a Nordic footprint. The larger part of our sales comes from the Swedish market. We are growing quite rapidly in Norway as well. We also have distribution relationships in Finland and in Denmark, and this is quite important to assist our Nordic or pan-Nordic customers on a Nordic basis. Today we conduct our business within 4 business areas. I'm going to describe these a little bit more in detail later, but as you can see, our business area commercial is our oldest one and our largest one still. We have fiber networks, or FTTX, our business area residential, and services and training. I'm going to start by describing commercial a little bit. This is basically data communication or network solutions for commercial properties. Now, a commercial property for us, that could be a hospital, could be an industrial facility, it could be an office or a data center. So it's a quite broad category there. We have a complete solution here. We could be a turnkey supplier for our customers. We have both copper-based and fiber optic systems and solutions. And an important aspect of this business area is that ECS, our own developed system, is a very important part here. It constitutes about 25% of our turnover in total today. And we have about 4,000 individual installers across the Nordics who are certified and educated in using our material. So it creates a certain type of loyalty to Alcadon, of course. In fiber networks, or FTTX, where the X stands for where the fiber eventually ends up, this is also an area where we have a rather strong position. And as I mentioned before, we have had a strong position in all major fiber rollouts during our history. Broadband, 4G, 5G, those volumes ends up here. Most of the volumes concerns fiber optic cables and ducts. Our business area residential, this is a quite new business area for us. It was primarily created through our acquisitions in both Norway and Sweden. It's a high growth area for us. We have a very low market share, but we have a very nice system solution with data communication and electricity for residential properties. When I say electricity, I basically mean smart and safe homes. Another one of our own developed brands, DC Line, is also very important in this business area. It constitutes about 6 to 7% of our sales today. We are present also in both new construction, renovation, and reconstruction as well. Services and training. As you could see, this is a mere 5 or perhaps 4% of our turnover, but this is highly important for us to establish ourselves and maintaining our position as a value-adding provider in the market. This is where we educate, train, and certify our customers. We provide them with network design. We also have rental of equipment that our customer needs when they provide their customers with fiber rollouts or structured cabling in facilities. Now, why do customers work with Alcadon? We made a few surveys, one quite recently, where we asked our customers, why do you work with us? And what most of them say is that they consider us to be somewhat of a competence center within data communication or network infrastructure. This basically means that they consider us to be specialists. Now, we do not work with low-price products and low-price solutions, meaning that if a customer comes to us and wants a low-price solution and a logistical service, we might not always be the best player to work with. We work with high premium quality products. In terms of agility, I mean, that is a word that is often used, of course, but I think that we have shown over time that we have been able to adapt our business to be part of these different fiber rollouts in 4G and data centers, for example. And I think those adaptations show that we are a quite flexible company. Another thing that our customers mentioned was this in-house development of products and solutions. Primarily, they mention ECS and DC Line as top-of-the-line systems that they often and gladly work with. But we also have packaged solutions for data centers, a packaged solution for 5G to stand prepared for when that launch happens. Our business model has not changed much since we were founded, or at least since the mid-90s. I think the most important thing to mention here is the in-house developed systems, about 30% of our sales. These are systems that are locally adapted to our current local markets, which gives us a unique strength, I believe. But also, I always get a lot of questions regarding manufacturing. Do you have your own manufacturing and production? And we do not. The global market for production of these type of systems is highly competitive, and we don't see any reason as to why we should have any own production facility. Now, we combine this with distribution relationships, where we represent globally well-renowned manufacturers, niche manufacturers on the Nordic market. This is very good since a lot of these players are world-leading within their niches. They use a lot of capital every year to invest in R&D. And having these relationships, these exclusive relationships, it helps us making sure that we never miss a technological trend. It gives us a certain type of flexibility. And this flexibility in combination with a unique system approach, it gives us a lot of value. It's very valuable for us. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the customers later, but what I can say is that we have a highly fragmented customer base. And most of our customers are small and mid-sized installers across Norway and Sweden primarily. Here are some of our more well-known customers. But as I said, it's a highly fragmented customer base. And today, we have over 2,500 active customers. And when we say active, we mean customers who are purchasing from us on a monthly basis at least. A large share of those 2,500 customers have been our customers since 10 to 20 years back, which we are very glad for, of course. And as I mentioned, highly fragmented. I think our largest customer is about 3 or 4% of our turnover. But we also have, besides installers, we have operators, data centers, property developers, and municipalities and energy companies as customers. So it's quite wide client list, as you probably understand. Now, in terms of competition, on one hand, we have often global traditional wholesalers with a very wide product range. They offer primarily a logistical solution for our mutual customers. On the other hand, we have niche distributors, often quite small, often even significantly smaller than Alcadon. They often have a more narrow product portfolio, and very often they are working as distributors where they represent a global manufacturer on their respective local markets. Alcadon, we are definitely a niche distributor, and in addition to being a distributor, we have, of course, these in-house developed systems that we work with. I often get the question also about what drives your market, what makes Alcadon be a nice company in 5 or 10 years. And I thought I'll dedicate some time towards describing the market drivers for us. Primarily, there are two market drivers. First, we have the construction activity, the general construction activity in the market, but we also have increasing amounts of data. And if we start to talk about increasing amounts of data, you probably all heard of Internet of Things and Industry 4.0 and how that drives, the amounts of data in society as a whole. Now, these amounts of data has increased by over 30% a year the last 7 years, and it's expected to increase even further or more rapid going forward. Now, when you have increased amount of data, you need storage. When you talk about storage, you often talk about the cloud. Now, a cloud, that is a data center essentially. We work a lot towards data centers, and we see that is a market that has grown perhaps 10 to 15% a year the last 5 years, and is expected to grow a lot, especially in the Nordics, where we have a quite favorable infrastructure for data centers. So that's a highly important area for us. Also, when you have these increased flows of data, you need 5G. So with 5G, it's not a question of if it's going to be implemented, it's a question of when. And you might ask yourself how much fiber is involved in 5G. Well, if you compare it to a broadband rollout, you usually say it's about 2 to 6 times more fiber. If you compare it to 4G, you can compare the number of base stations needed normally. And in 4G, you require about 25 base stations per square kilometer. In 5G, it's closer to 400 base stations. Now, this is important because every base station basically needs fiber to work. So this is a very interesting market for us, of course, and definitely an important market driver as well. The other important aspect is renovation, new construction, reconstruction, the general construction activity in the market. We are active in several segments. Doesn't matter basically if it's a infrastructure investment or a public investment or an industrial facility or even housing. Even the potential looking at housing alone, we have, I think, an underlying need just in Sweden for 50 to 90,000 dwellings a year the next 5 years just to support our current population. So there's a lot of potential here, and our market share is very, very low, and we are experiencing a high growth right now. So it's a very interesting area for us, definitely. In terms of financials, we have experienced a downturn due to the broadband rollout that has halted a bit, especially in Sweden. In Norway, the situation is a bit more positive as it looks right now. However, in our other business areas, in business area commercial and residential, the situation is a little bit different. We see a more solid situation there, driven primarily by data centers and industry investments. But also in business area residential, we see a far stronger underlying growth. When it comes to our numbers, you could say also that we managed to keep a rather stable gross margin over time, especially when looking at historical numbers. Our solidity also is maintained at a rather high level. Looking at our ownership, we are quite proud to say that we have dedicated long-term owners, and I'm happy to say also that the employees of Alcadon constitute a large share of the ownership, And that is something you definitely can feel when you work within the company. These are people who are highly engaged in the success of the company, and most of them have been there for at least 10 to 15 years, which I think is a strong sign. Our board of directors, we have Jonas Mortensson. I thought I saw you there in the back. We have Stefan Charette, Marie Ygge, and my predecessor, Pierre Fors, as well, who was a former CEO. I think I exceeded my time limit now, but perhaps you have some questions for me as well.
Yeah, all right. So thank you so much. So yeah, we have time. We have some extra time for questions as well. I think one of the first questions I wanted to ask is you've been here since late summer, more or less. What have been the main areas that you've identified as areas for improvement, and what have you focused on since you started working at Alcadon?
Well, we've seen that the culture of the company is very strong. It's very entrepreneurial, very business-minded. So there's not much to do there. We have to focus on maintaining that culture and make it prosper. In terms of strategy, it's nothing wrong with the strategy as well. It's Alcadon has a set way going forward, and it's nothing wrong with that. But I think in terms of structure, we did find some potential there in restructuring some parts of the organization, and we also added this new management team to get a nicer flow of information between our different functions in the company and also between the different geographical markets, and that gives us a far more comprehensive view of some of the questions we have going forward.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. And in terms of one thing I was wondering as well is I'm not going to dwell too much into it, but FTTH, so fiber to the home, has obviously been a drag for the group, as you mentioned. You're saying you're seeing some improvements. Do you think going forward, next 1-2 quarters, is it somewhere leveling out at this level, or is it increasing from here, or how should we view this part of the exposure of Alcadon?
Well, you could say that 30 to 40% of the fiber that needs to be rolled out to reach the government's broadband targets is still remaining. So everything speaks for that fiber to be rolled out. The question is only when, and we cannot see the next few months that something is going to happen there. We hope that we reached somewhat of a bottom stage in the market, but for it to pick up speed again, we have to be honest and say that we can't really see that happening during Q1 next year either. It's going to take some time.
Yeah. All right, thank you. So next thing then, 5G, really interesting. As you mentioned, it requires a lot of fiber basically, and obviously huge potential there. What are the trends you're seeing in the market? When do people think that we'll start seeing the rollout of 5G in Sweden, Norway, etc.? And do you have a status on that or an understanding of?
I can say that I think Norway will be a little bit ahead of Sweden, actually. They have had their primary auctions already. I think in Sweden, some of the auctions for a large piece of the spectrum were due for March, and now it has been postponed to the summer. So when people have asked us, when do you think that 5G will be commercialized, when will it be rolled out, we usually say that it could happen by the end of 2020. It could also happen in the beginning of 2021, but it's very difficult to say. And I think all players in this market are in agreement that it's very difficult to see exactly when it's going to happen.
Right. And does it require any other type? Is it the same cable that you use? Is it the same product as for 4G and 3G?
It's very similar. Yeah. It's very similar, but you need some alterations, and that is something that we have prepared for the last year that's gone by. Some minor adjustments, but in basis, it's not a huge difference. Right.
And also in terms of your own products, so it's 30% today of the group, more or less. Do you have a view there? Do you want to expand your product offering, or what's the future for the own products within the group?
Well, we have a rather nice product development department, and they work solely on our own assortment and making sure that the systems are up to date and developed. But we have not set a specific percentage of our total turnover. We are more concerned that the mix between distributed products and our own products is a good mix, and that they go hand in hand. It's more important for us that they complement each other than that one should grow more than the other.
Yeah. Okay. So you see a risk that maybe then, if you focus too much on your products, then you don't have the whole offer in place.
Yeah, it could be a risk, but so far we haven't experienced that. I think the global companies that we represent in the Swedish and Norwegian markets, they view it as a strength that their distributor have their own products as well, and a maintain a closer relationship with the local customers. So they are more concerned that we have our market shares intact, so to speak.
Yeah. And I have to ask as well, so acquisition's been a part of the group.
Yeah.
Your background from AdTech, so you obviously worked a lot with acquisitions yourself. So I'm just thinking, Alcadon going forward, in terms of acquisitions, is that something you're looking into? What are you targeting? Are you trying to expand outside of the Nordics maybe, or increase your product offering? What's the plan there for future acquisitions?
We have a strong pipeline of companies, and I've spoken to a handful of companies myself that are interested in becoming a part of our group, and that is of course something we're very happy about. What we have said is that we are doing some changes now during this autumn, and myself and our CFO are quite new, so we wanted to make sure that we implement these changes in a good, strong manner before we step out and do acquisitions again. And I think that's a sound strategy, so we don't do too much at the same time. If we look at where geographically we look at acquisitions, we're quite open-minded as to what we should do. But of course, if we move outside our current business, our current geographical markets, then we will try to stay even closer to our core business, product-wise and customer-wise.
Yeah. No, because the reason I'm asking is you see that fiber is underdeveloped in a lot of places around Europe, whereas in the Nordics we're quite far ahead.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if that was a route that you potentially...
That is something we're looking at as well. But we also see that part of our offer is structured cabling solutions for premises, for facilities, and that is a business that is more solid, it's more stable, and it's not fluctuating as much as a fiber rollout. So we're trying to weigh these to each other also to see which one is more beneficial for us in the long term.
Yeah, and just one final question then that I was wondering about. So the share has taken a hit this year, obviously for reasons that we've discussed. Why, in your opinion, do you think it would be a good time now to invest in Alcadon, and how do you see, your future for the next year, let's say, of the group?
Yeah, I would say that I won't comment on the share, but development-wise for the company, I think we have nice market conditions in front of us, and I think that one has to understand when it comes to these fiber rollouts, looking at them from a 20-25 year perspective, you always see ups and downs, but in the long run, usually the volumes go up, and I think with 5G we're going to see a development over a longer period of time with more stable volumes. Similar to the one we've seen with FTTH in Norway, where operators sell the subscriptions before they roll out the fiber, which gives you a more stable growth over time. So we think that it will still be volatile, but over time we will see increased volumes, definitely.
And would that exposure be the more volatile compared to, for example, commercial real estate and the other exposures you have? Is the fiber part that is...
That's
because of these trends.
Yeah, the volatility comes definitely from the fiber rollout. With structured cabling for industrial facilities, for example, it's not volatile in the same way. If the general industry goes down and industrial facilities are empty, usually the cabling system or the network infrastructure is changed when a new player moves in. So no matter what happens, we will have a nice business there as well.
All right, thank you. Well, those were the questions I had. I thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And thank you all.
Thank you.